So the source determination is basically which all vendors are available in the market or in your organizations against which you have done the past purchases. Okay, against which you have done the past purchases, you will basically identify those vendors first. Okay, this is basically the source determination. Buying anything, okay, before buying anything, you will identify that what are the different sources through which I can buy. Okay, and then based on the reviews, parameters, many other things, you will basically select the vendors. Okay, so source list is basically the record of the vendors. Okay, then the vendor selection. So how we select the vendors? As I said, you can basically perform the vendor evaluations. Okay, so and vendor evaluations can be done based on the pricing. Okay, or it can be done based on the many other factors that we have, like pricing, the quality that we have received in the past purchases, or the delivery that has been made in the past purchases, and what kind of services they are offering, services in terms of the different payment terms and the friendly payment terms. Okay, and the quantity, whether it can basically handle big quantities or small quantities. So these are basically the different factors against which we basically perform the vendor evaluations. Okay, there are other factors also, like quota arrangement that we discussed, that if there is a big quantity of 10,000 quantities of one material that I want to purchase it from the market, it is not very you can say obvious that all vendor can provide me this much amount of quantity. They may not be ready for that kind of big manufacturing at their end. So what I generally do in those cases, we basically perform the quota arrangements also, and these quota arrangements are basically done based on the previous purchase on the vendor evaluation. Okay, so if there are no 5 vendors in the market, I will basically distribute the quantity amongst the vendor depending on these evaluations. Okay, which is offering best price, how much quantity they can deliver, what is the delivery dates, okay, the quality and the services. Based on that, I will distribute my 10,000 quantities among the different vendors, so that I should be safe. I should not basically give to one vendor, okay, and then keep on waiting and then get the surprise at the last moment. So what I'll do, I'll just to mitigate the risk, okay, in the start itself, I'll just distribute the big quantities among the different vendors. Okay, and then I can basically start following up with them. So this is basically the quota arrangements that we use during the vendor selections. Okay, and then once the vendor gets selected, we basically go with the order processing. So order processings are basically of different types, as what we have not discussed. So one is basically the request for quotation. So once we have the vendor selection, during this vendor selection also we have the request for quotations also. Okay, so we basically identify, we send the quotations, and then we receive the quotations back from the vendor based on the pricings and other things and the delivery terms and the payment terms. We select those vendors. Okay, so this basically, this part, the vendor selection also comes under this. Okay, this process, request for quotations, and the when we are receiving the quotation backs. This order processing is majorly into this purchase order or scheduling agreements or the contracts. Okay, where once we have finalized the vendor, then we will send them the legal agreement to purchase. Okay, related to the purchase, where we are purchasing the material from the vendor. So this legal purchase is basically a very serious, you can say, kind of agreements that we are now exchanging between the two parties. Okay, so as I given an example, that it should not be like this, that we have given an order of 10,000 quantities to one vendor. Okay, and after a month or after 2 weeks, we can say, oh, we do not want that quantity, our quantity is already fulfilled, or because of this change in the COVID and other things, we do not feed the quantity. So such kind of things should not happen. So that's why we have this legal agreements known as purchasing agreements, known as the purchase order, that is available. Okay, that we basically share between the two parties. Okay, same way we have the contracts and other things. So suppose I want to basically give a contract to the for my college or for my, you can say, company. I want to give a contract to Sodexo, okay, to deliver the food activities and other things. So it is basically not on the daily basis. I will be creating a purchase order. Okay, that this is the purchase order for today's lunch, dinner, and the breakfast. Tomorrow I will again release one purchase order for lunch, dinner, and breakfast. So what I will do, I will just give a contract of 1 year. Okay, which is valid for 1 year. Okay, so long term purchasings or the long term of agreements we can do by the contracts. Okay, so this is what the contracts we have. So once we select the vendors, we can basically do the we can initiate the order processing, that is by creating the purchase order and the contracts or the scheduling agreements also in those cases. Scheduling agreement is basically a little different thing, so that's why I'm not adding over here, but it is more related to the delivery timelines and other things. Okay. Then the next thing is that once you basically release the order to the vendor, okay, so you will not sit idle, okay, for 1 month. Means if the delivery time is 1 month, you will not sit idle, okay, let's wait for 1 month and I will get my order, okay, on 1 month, within 1 month or on the date as it is agreed by the vendor. It is our duty, okay, or it is our responsibility, or the purchasing team responsibility to perform, to make the continuous follow-ups with those vendors, okay, so that you will get to know that what is the current, you can say, the situation of the vendor with reference to your order. Okay, it would be a case that the vendor may not able to deliver the product on time, so that you can plan it better. The early you get information from the vendor regarding the delivery dates changes, better you can do your planning also, because there could be a case that your production team who's manufacturing Maruti car, they are waiting for you to get those materials, okay, that you have given a responsibility to purchase from the vendor. Okay, so if you are waiting for 1 month and then when you start calling them, they will get you get to know that, okay, due to some no change in the plan, or due to some no natural calamities or something that has happened at the vendor side, they are not able to deliver the product. Then what you will do? Okay, so it is important to have a continuous follow-up, okay, order follow-up with the vendor to make your planning better, okay, or to make your planning more optimized and more efficient in those cases. Okay, so how you can perform the order follow-ups? So in the system, we have now the system reminders also. This is with reference to the system. System means whether you are using Oracle, SAP, BAN, okay, these systems have the system reminders that we are sending, that system will send, okay, on a particular time intervals. Okay, the other reminders that you can basically connect with the vendor have offline techniques like email or phone and other things. Okay, generally these are the most preferred ones. Phone, emails, and other things. But consider a case that you are dealing with around 100 vendors. Then it is not very possible for you to basically remember everything. So in those cases, we trust system also. Okay, so that system can basically send the reminders, okay, on your behalf. And when you get the information from the vendor, that will you will directly receive over the mails and other things. So such kind of follow-ups, workflows, okay, kind of things we have in the system also. Like the system is sending the reminders on your behalf. It will reaches to the vendor. When vendor sends the information back, okay, it will receive on your email ID. So that kind of follow-ups, that kind of settings are available in the SAP system to make the things more easy, or to make the following process smoother. Okay. Then after this follow-up, there is the good receipt and the inventory management. So finally the day comes when the vendor has delivered the product to you. Okay, so in this case, what you will do, you will basically find the sufficient space, or you will create a sufficient space in your warehouses to perform the good receipt. Good receipt means that when the vendor basically carries the material and okay, or bring the material to your plant, then you will unload this material, okay, into your plant, or not in the plant but under the storage location. Plant is very big, okay, and plant basically comprise of many departments also, like HR department, purchasing department, sales department. Okay, so within the plant where you will be storing those materials, so we will be storing the material in the storage locations, the respective storage locations. So we have to make the planning also, that if we are basically receiving big amount of material, then we should have sufficient labor available at the time of unloading. It should not be like this, that the trucks are basically parked at your gate and there are not much labors that is available, or you have basically make the arrangements, or agreed to deliver the material on the labor day where there is no labor available. Okay, then you are not the one who will start unloading the material from the truck. So you have to do the planning. Okay, there are the concept known as inbound delivery or outbound delivery. What are those inbound delivery and outbound delivery? I'll come to that little later. But with this inbound delivery, you will able to understand what is the exact date, what is the exact time, and what is the exact quantity that the vendor is going to deliver. Okay, so this is the information that is sent by the vendor. Suppose you have basically given an order of 500 quantities to the vendor, but the vendor do not have that capacity. Okay, because of this seasonal works like during Diwali, you are not the only one who is giving vendor an order. There are no other customers for that vendor. So you have agreed that okay, you can tell me that how many quantities you can provide me. So in that case, what vendor says that out of 500 quantities, what I can do, I can basically provide you only out of 500 quantities, I can provide you 100 quantities on 2nd of May. Okay, at time 11 a.m. Okay, then remaining 300 quantities I can provide you on 15th of May. Okay, time 1 p.m. And then I can also provide you remaining how many 100 quantities on 22nd of May. You are also happy, vendor is also happy, because at least you have received some material. Nobody will shout at you. Okay, majorly the production team will shout. Okay, so at 2 p.m. So what is this? These are basically the time given by the vendor, the quantity given by the vendor, the time given by the vendor, the date given by the vendor on which he, she, or it will be delivering the product to you. This information, when we are receiving from the vendor, we call it as inbound information or inbound delivery. Some of you must have heard regarding this. Inbound delivery means when the vendor will give you the material. Okay, in at which quantity, at what time, at what date. That is what we call it as a inbound delivery, a kind of notification that we receive from the vendor. The alternative name for this is advance shipping notification also, that we receive from the vendor. It is a notification that is given by the vendor in advance related to the shipping. What shipping? The material that I am delivering, in what quantity I will be delivering, or at which date and which time. So what will happen with this? So once you get the advanced shipping notification, you will basically do the planning of your warehouse labors also. Okay, warehouse labors, operators, manager, that at this particular time 100 quantities we will be receiving or 1000 quantities we will be receiving. So keep ready with that. Also make the necessary arrangements in the warehouse or in the storage location also, so that you can make sufficient space to put all those materials in this. Okay, if that kind of planning is not done, then where you will put the material? You may basically dump the material somewhere in the yard or at near the plant, but that is doesn't look good. Okay, so that is how it basically works. So this is basically the inbound delivery. So I'll not go into that inbound delivery much in detail as of now, because that we can cover a little later. Okay, but you can consider that once the order follow-up is basically done, then we basically receive the material. Okay, so this receiving of material means when the truck comes to your plant, then you have to perform the good receipt. Good receipt means receiving the material in the warehouse or in the storage location. Okay, in the plant is big and they have dedicated storage locations, so you can put the material in those storage locations. Okay, so you can have the warehouses in which you are putting all those materials, so that is basically taken care by the warehouse team. Okay, so if you do not have the warehouse management, then you can simply store the material in the storage location. Okay, so there is a benefit of having the warehouse management also instead of storage location. We'll come to that. Okay, very high level, if I can tell you that when you put any material, suppose you have home, okay, 4 BHK home, and each and every room is basically your storage location in which you are keeping a different materials. Okay, so in SAP system or in any other system also, Oracle systems, storage location is basically the last level where you can track the material. Means once you put the material in the room, that is basically a black box for you, where you have kept it, under which drawer you have kept it, and under which almirah you have kept it, in almirah under which basically drawer you have kept it. That kind of information you will not get. Now consider another case of kitchen. Okay, so somebody told you that where you have kept the vegetables, I have put it, the vegetables or the pulses that I have not received from the Amazon pantry, I have put it in kitchen. But where in kitchen? If your kitchen is a modular kitchen, then you will basically, it will make your life miserable to find out where you actually have put the materials over there. So that is those modular kind of concepts. Okay, the different doors for the different material of the different quantities is basically what the warehouse is. And kitchen is basically the storage location where you say that I have put the material in the kitchen. That's it. Where I put it, under which store I put it, under which drawer I put it, under which rack I put it, system will not give you that depth of information. To get those information, you have to implement the warehouse management in those cases. So you can see in this small screenshot under which particular rack I'm putting the material, that much of detailed information you will get in the warehouse management. I have kept the vegetables in the fridge. Where in the fridge? Fridge is basically something very easy to identify where you have put the vegetable, but consider the case the fridge itself have lot of racks and other things. So for SAP system, you are putting the material in the fridge. That's the storage location. Under which rack? This will not give you. If you get a chance to the Goodyear factory that is based out in Chakan, it is 1 kilometer long. Okay, warehouse it has, or the storage location it has. Now consider a case if you are putting any material over there. Is it easy for you to locate that material? If somebody tell you that where you put the material, I put the material in storage location 1001 Goodyear, 1 kilometer long warehouse or the storage location. Okay, bring that material and bring some other materials and not put. Is it easy for you to identify that material when you get into that big warehouses? No. Okay, so that is why this warehouse management is basically required in the big organizations and other things. So that is basically coming back to the story. So this is basically the good receipt and the inventory management that we do when we receive the material from the vendors. Okay, so they basically put the material in the storage location. Not they, vendor will not put it. Vendor will just bring the material at your gate or something, and then you will start unloading the material and then put it into the storage location. Storage location in material management is the you can say the smallest object where you are keeping the track of the material. After that, you cannot keep the track. Okay, like under which drawer, under which racks I'm putting the material, that kind of information you cannot get. Okay. And the last step over here is basically the invoice verification. So once you receive the material, okay, how much quantity you have received from the vendor, and based on that, you will do the invoice verification also. So how much, what was the order, and against the order, what is the invoice you have to punch to the vendor? Okay, you will basically give that information, or you can give that money to the vendor, okay, via the invoices. So this invoice verification is vendor will basically generate the invoice or give you the invoice. You will tally that invoice with the order. There is a concept known as three-way match also. I'll come to that also. Okay, so you will basically check with the what is the actual quantity in the order. Okay, and what is basically the invoicing part. Okay, so then you will release the invoice, not you, or maybe the bank will release the invoice, and those money will get credited to the vendor's bank account, and it will be debited from your company's bank account. Okay, so there is some kind of accounting entries also that get triggered. So what is accounting entries? So this is basically helpful to evaluate the company valuations. Okay, so how much quantity you are receiving, how much quantity is moving out from your warehouse. So quantity, or when you're saying that the quantity is receiving in the warehouse, that is you're receiving the material in the warehouse, and your valuation of the company or the plant is basically growing up. Okay, if you borrow some money from some other, like fundings, seed funding, so nowadays there are a lot of things, startups. So when I get a funding, so when I get a funding, though I am just taking borrowing the money, but when I take the funding from any of the organization or the investment groups, this is what my company valuation is basically rising in those cases. Okay, and when I'm flooding the money out of my company, then it is basically something, my valuation may go down, or the case is that if I'm investing in somewhere, then in those cases my valuation will again go up. Okay, if we talk about the share markets and other things, so that is how this valuation means. When I receiving the material in my warehouse, okay, my valuation of the plant or the inventory will go up, and the valuation of my company will also go in those cases. So there are some kind of accounting entries that will get triggered in the background. These accounting entries are linked to the individual you can say GL account, general ledger accounts, that basically help you to identify the profit and loss of a company at the financial year or any time you want to check. Okay, generally these kind of big reports are with the big shots of the company to identify where our company is heading towards, whether it is heading towards the losses or it is heading towards the profit. Now how they can calculate it? They can calculate it via this small receiving and selling of goods. Suppose I have given one example that your company is basically into the trading also. Okay, where the only thing that you are doing is receiving the material from the vendor. So this is your vendor. Okay, and you're receiving the material from the vendor. You're not doing anything on this vendor, on this material. You're just creating a logo on this material. Okay, and just doing a good wrapping over here. Okay, so you've done a good wrapping, and then you can send it to the customer. Okay. So you receive at 100 and you send it at 150. Okay, so what is the profit? The profit is basically of 50 rupees that you get. This 50 rupees will basically park it into some GL accounts, okay, which will basically show at the higher level. Means it will consolidate all the profits that you are made during these transactions and all the losses that you are made during these transactions, and those basically get tracked in these GL accounts, which basically show you the actual profit and loss of your company. There are no many other GL accounts that we have, like if I'm making any expensive, I'm doing the salary, paying the salary of the of the employees and other things, then those are the expenses, and it will basically get deducted from the actual profits that I'm getting from the organization. Apart from that, there are the taxes. I can get the tax wave from on the different benefits. I'm running NGOs and other things, so there are no different GL accounts for the different purpose that we have, but all are basically meeting at one point where we are just try to identify where our company is heading towards, whether it is heading towards the profit or whether it is heading towards the losses. Okay, so plus minus is basically the profit and loss that we are making against the different processes that we have in the organization. Along with that, we have no different other account groups related to the expenses, related to the sundry accounts. Sundry means the day-to-day activity, like we have in the offices, like coffee cups, coffee machines, okay, the fillers and all these things. So based on that, these are the different operations that you are doing at the ground level. Okay, but those ground level activities are getting tracked in the individual account. Individual account means the actual account that we have, GL, general ledger accounting, that we have. And these general ledger accounting are they basically connected at, okay, you can see those pictures at the company code level or at the plant level. So if I'm a CEO of a big company, will I basically check, try to check each and every activity that is happening in the warehouse, that what all different type of, if I'm a CEO of a big company, so I will not basically track the other things at the operational level, or nor I will basically check the things at the plant level. Sometimes once in a month something I can do the tracking at the plant level, that which plant is basically on the profit, which have done a lot of sales, okay, where the expenses is less and the sales is high and the profit is high. Okay, which plant has the low profit, which plant has the high profit, and these are then further consolidate at the company level. Now what is this organizational structure? I'll come to this in the next slide. So at the company level, I can see where I'm running different companies also, that which company is basically profitable. Now consider a case of Tata groups. Okay, Tata is basically running on the different company codes also. One is the Tata Motors, okay, one is Tata Consumers, one is basically Tata Healthcare, one is Tata Engineering or Tata Consultancy, the services, one is Tata Technologies. You can see how many Tata they are. Okay, so all these are the companies that a big Tata group has. If Ratan Tata want to see something, okay, what is the profit and loss, at which level he is more curious to see the reports. He is more curious to see the report at these levels, okay, which either the Tata Consumer or Tata Consultancy or Tata Technologies or Tata Motor is profitable, or where the actual issue is. He will not see that under the Tata Motors or under the Tata Consumer how many sugar we have purchased today, how many salt, Tata Salt we have sold today, okay, all those things. Okay, those things for which particular plant we have sell. Okay, if the Tata Consumer have now around 20 plants all across India, okay, so it will not see that which plant he may see, okay, depending on his taste, or want to basically get a ground level realities, but this is not something that the CEOs or the big shop want to see. So all these details that we are doing on the day-to-day operations are connected to the different GL accounts. Okay, and these different GL accounts will club together the information and display you the better picture at the company code level or even at the client level also. even at not at the client level, sorry, my pardon. It will, you will show the better picture at the company code level. You can also see the picture at the plant level also, that which plant is basically performing well and which plant is not performing well. But the thing is, all your operational activities and everything is basically getting tracked in the different GL accounts, which will club, okay, and then show you the better picture related to what is the profit and loss and the expenses and the expenditure that we have made in this particular quarter, in these 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. So that's why this material management is as a high dependency with the financial sides. Okay, because if I'm purchasing anything, if I'm selling anything, then for every purchase and selling, there is basically the records that is getting added in the system. Okay, financial records are getting added in the system, profit and loss are getting added in the system, expenditure is getting added in the system. If I want to do some kind of I purchase an engine, but engine is not working. So what I will do, I will get it repaired. So I have to pay something out of my pocket to get it repaired. So that is an expenses. Somewhere I will basically park those expenses in the company. So that expenses have a different GL accounts. Okay. So how many expenses we have made in a month? So all those expenses will be consolidated. Okay, or you can club under that GL account, and you can see the better picture that the total expenses that we have made in a month is around 20 crores. What is the profit of the company? Profit, how they will get the profit, that how much we have buy from the vendor at which price, and how much price we have incurred in manufacturing those products that we have received from the vendor, and then at which price we have sell it to the customer. Then from there we can get the profit, overall profit, and then minus the profit with the expenditure with a simple calculation. I'm not going into the complex one, but this is how the things goes at the company level also. Okay, so that's why we have different GL accounts, and that's why at this invoicing level we have the accounting entries that are getting triggered. Accounting entries also get triggered at this particular level also, as I said, at the good receipt level also, because we are receiving the material. The moment I receive a material, and one material cost around 1,000, means suppose you are working in Blue Star, okay, those who are good in providing the ACs, okay, so they do not only provide the house ACs or something, okay, they are also in the commercial ACs. So if you go to any big mall, okay, the main vendor who have installed the ACs are basically Blue Star. So these are the centralized AC, and those centralized AC are basically work on the AC chillers. If you go to the basement, there are no big rooms where these AC chillers have. Okay, one chiller is cost around 14 to 20 crores, I believe. Okay, long back in 2008, it was cost around 3 to 4 crores. I'm not very sure. I believe that it is somewhere around 8 to 10 crores or 14 crores, depending on the capacity. If I brought around 100 AC chillers to my inventory, you can see what is the cost of my inventory at that time. Okay, my valuation of inventory is high. I have to basically hire few security guards so that nobody should steal those AC chillers and other things. Though it is very big in size, nobody will steal it, and it requires a lot of resources to steal it. Okay, but still I'm telling that when I bring those big materials to my warehouse, the valuation of my material, the valuation of my plant, the valuation of my inventory will go high in those cases, and the valuation of the company is also go high in those cases. Okay. So then the last thing is basically related to the invoicing that we have just discussed, that we will validate the order and the invoice. Okay, how much we have purchased and how much we have sent, okay, as a part of invoicing. So this is the complete flow, the basic vanilla flow of SAP material management, or you can say SAP S/4HANA sourcing and procurement. Okay, the new SAP S/4HANA, that both have the same flows. Okay, in this. There are no few flows, okay, that we have related to the release strategies and other things. I'll come to that, okay, when I show you the process. If you want to see the vendor procurement flow from vendor perspective, so I'll just give in I have identified the purchasing. I'll take it little fast in this case, since you've understood the entire flow. So I have identified the purchasing, okay, then I create a purchase order. I'll send this purchase order to the vendor. Okay, then what vendor will do? Vendor will deliver a material to me. Okay, and then with that material, I will do the good receipt. Okay, I will do the good receipt in my inventory. So after once the good receipt is done, then what vendor will do? Vendor will basically give me the invoicing. Okay, that this is the invoice, this is the material you have requested, and this is the invoice, pay me that money. Okay, so what I will do, I will do the invoice verification. What is the order that we have now asked vendor for, and how much they have, and what is basically the pricing that I have to pay. Before this also we can do three-way matching also. So you can see what is this three-way matching. Three-way matching means how much order I have given. Like I have given 20 quantities, how much I have received. Okay, I have received only 10 quantities, then I will only pay for the 10 quantities. Okay, if you do not have activated, this is a concept in material management, if you have not activated the three-way match in those cases, then what is the purchase order value, sorry, the quantity you have, means we have given a purchase order of 100 quantities. Okay, and one quantity cost around 10. Okay, so what is the total cost of the purchase order is 1000. Okay, suppose vendor have only delivered you 500 quantities. Okay, and he say that no, I will deliver rest of the quantities after 2 months or 1 month. So in this case, the company have to take a stand, or they already basically inculcate in this their process that we, whatever the order quantities we have to verify it with the good receipt quantity, how much we have received from the vendor so far. So if we have received 500, then I will only pay for the 500 quantities, that is I will pay only 5000 rupees at this time. Okay, if we do not activate this three-way match in the inventory or in the material management, then we will be paying whatever is there in the purchase order. Okay, so that is kind of three-way match we have in the procurement flow. So once the invoicing is verified, okay, from the company, that what is the order quantity, what is the good receipt quantity, and what is the actual quantity we have to give, then we will basically initiate this payment from the bank, and then bank will give the money to the vendor. Okay, so this is basically what the flow is. Okay, from the vendor perspective, easy flow, because the previous flow, if you have already understood, then this will be little easy for you to understand. Okay, coming back to the next point. Okay, we have talked about the Tata groups, Tata consumer, Tata this, Tata that. What is that? This is basically the organizational structure. Okay, every module, if you are going with the sales and distribution, okay, where you are targeting the customers, okay, or if you are going to the warehouse management, where you are only targeting the warehousing part, okay, or if you are targeting the material management, each and every module have their own organizational structure. Okay, so in this we will be focusing majorly on the material management organization structure. It is good for your understanding. It is not very good, means it is not something that interviewer will ask you if you are preparing for the interview, that what is the organizational structure of M. This is something that are the gone days now. It was used to ask around 15 years back or something. Okay, but now, not now. So just for your understanding, because if you get to any of the projects, okay, implementation projects, or the you can say support project also, the very first thing that we should able to understand is the organization structure. What is the scope of this particular client, is how many plants it has, okay, across the world, how many company code it has across the world, how many storage location is spread no spread up no spread across the geographies and other things. Okay, so those information is the first information we should understand, that what is the scope of this client. Somebody tell you that now you are basically appointed in the Tata group. Okay, my first question is, okay, Tata group, which Tata group? There are no many Tata companies that we have. I appointed under the Tata Motors or Tata Consultancy, Tata Consumable, Tata Healthcare, Tata this, Tata that. Okay, so they will tell me that you will be appointed under the Tata Motors. Okay, so under the Tata Motors, which plant I get appointed, okay, or I will be appointed at the head office? No, you will be appointed at the plant. Which plant? There are many plants, okay. In the Pune, there are 2 plants or 3 plants. Okay, in Delhi also there are 1 or 2 plants. So every across, I think, in not all the cities, or the states, but in some of the states we have no Tata plants, motor plants also. So in which plant I am deputed it? You are deputed it at Pune plant. Okay, fine. In Pune plant there are two plants in Pune, which then you try to understand that how I'm defining my scope, where I'm exactly is, and what is my role and responsibility in that particular plant. I'll start asking this. So what is this? This is basically the company code. Sorry, this is the organizational structure that we have. Okay, and this is the first scope document we should able to understand whether you are working on the implementation project or a support project. Okay, so the first thing is basically the client. I'll just make it little, try to make it more, you can say, not on the definition perspective. Definition you can basically read it over the Google also. It is all about the accounting entries and other things will basically make you little difficult. Okay, just give me a second, please. Okay, just give me a second, please. Sorry, let me reshare it. Okay, so this is, hope my voice is audible. So this is basically the organization structure that we have. So it starts from the client. Okay, client is basically, you can say it as a group, the Tata Motors, that sorry, Tata Group, as I said. Under this Tata Group, we have basically different company codes. Okay, like Tata Motors. I'll take that example only because it is more relevant. Okay, for this, Tata Motors. Okay, Tata Consumers and Tata Consultancy. All have the three different operations. Motors are basically manufacturing the motors only. Okay, consumers are basically deals in the consumable products. Okay, day-to-day products that we are consuming. Okay, and then the consultancy service is basically majorly providing the IT service. All have three different operations and they have the three different company codes in those cases. Okay, now if I talked about, consider this as a Tata Motors or consumables, then this consumable have different plants where they are manufacturing those materials. Okay, like pulses and all other day-to-day life activities. So that company, one company can be assigned to the multiple plants over here. Okay, like Tata Motors, I have given an example that one Tata Motor company has multiple plants across India. Okay, so all those plants will be connected to one company code. It will not be like this, that the Tata Motor plant I will be connecting with the Tata consumer, because there is no sense that makes over here. Okay, that I'm connecting the car manufacturing company with the consumables or car manufacturing company with the consultancy service. Okay, consultancy service, if we talk about, there are different offices that we have across. Okay, in Pune, in Hinjewadi, there are 3 offices. Okay, talked about the Infosys as a company, it has many offices or many plants. Okay, if they consider offices as a, okay, so this is basically the plants that we have in the Tata Motors, different plants where we are basically receiving the materials, we are doing the operations, we are doing the purchasing, we are doing the human resource department kind of activities, we are doing many other things also. Okay, many other operations we are working in those plants. So going with my definition, when I'm saying different operations like HR operations or marketing operation, it is not necessarily that all these operations are mandatory in the plant. It is depending on what type of business we are into. There could be a plant that doesn't have those kinds of operations. They have already outsourced it to some other people who are basically sitting in some other places. Okay, my main focus in this plant is basically just to do the manufacturing. Okay, you have seen those shed big areas, okay, occupied by the company, like forging companies and other things. They basically make big sheds over there. So what we are expecting from there, whether they have those human resource department in place or whether they have marketing department in place, they are basically majorly focused on those repairing or forging kind of activities over there. Okay, so that is what this plant is. So plant is basically majorly related to the inventory part, good receipt part, managing the materials. Okay, you can also extend it from the purchasing perspective, you can also extend it from the sales perspective, you can also extend it from the production perspective. If you are producing something or you are doing some purchasing from there or selling to the customer, so that is basically the scope of the plant over here. In the Tata Motors also, okay, they are majorly into the manufacturing of the material, so they will be majorly into the purchasing. But purchasing is not the only activity they are doing. Again, means along with purchasing, they are also doing the manufacturing of the trucks or the motors and other things. And for this, they basically need the human capacity also. For that, they have the human resource department also in place. And to support the human resource department, production department, purchasing department, there may be some other departments also. Okay, so plant comprise of all those things. Okay, then within this plant, to accommodate the materials or to store the materials, we have the storage locations also. Okay, one storage location is only for the headlights or the spare parts. One storage location is only meant to place the engines that we are creating for the Jaguar, Land Rover, or that is A class material. One storage location is only meant for the B class cars, that like Nixon and all other things, or maybe Safari you can consider. Then one storage location is basically you have given to the vendors. Okay, so the vendor will come to this particular storage location, and whatever the repairing work they want to do, okay, they will do it in your storage location. So instead of sending the material out of your plant to the vendor, which basically add the inventory cost, it will add the handling cost, it will add the transportation cost. What you can also do, the vendors, for especially for the big organizations, the vendor basically comes to your plant at your site, and then they do the repair at your site itself. They basically use their own you can say what we call it as those uh, repairing kit. They have their own repairing kit, and then they will do the repairing. These kind of concepts we call it as subcontracting. Okay, when you are outsourcing the some of the activities or some of the processes to the other vendors. Okay, so we have the storage location, and in this particular storage location we are storing the materials. Okay, we are storing the materials, or we are basically performing certain set of operations also, like subcontractings and other things. Okay, with this plant you can see there is, that is specifically for the material management point of view I'm talking about. It is also connected to the purchasing organization. So we have already discussed that what is this purchasing organizations. To purchase the material, that is the external materials that we want to purchase, we have a separate group in the organization or at the plant level, that is the purchasing organization, where we have the team of people who will be dealing to connect with the vendor in order to procure the material from them. They will do a lot of negotiations and other discussions based on the payment terms and all those things. That is basically done under this organization. This organization is also divided into different groups, okay, depending on the category of material. A category of material like expensive materials, this group have very experienced people who have basically know how to negotiate and all those things. Then B category materials like less expensive materials, it has another set of materials over people over here. Then the C category materials, like this we can have the purchasing groups over here. Okay, you just divide the organization, the purchasing organization, where you have the team of purchasers into the different groups depending on the type of materials you are basically purchasing from here. So this purchasing organization is also set at two levels. One is basically at the plant level itself, where for each and every plant we have a purchasing group, their own purchasing group, or you can have the purchasing organization at the company code level. Okay, company code level means there is a one purchasing organization, big purchasing organization, okay, who is associated, which is set at the company code level, under which there are no multiple plants it has. Okay, so it will basically take care the purchasing of all the plants. Suppose I am in the Tata Motors and I am sitting in the head office and I am the head of the purchasing. Okay, so under the head of the purchasing, I am taking care of 5 plants or 7 plants across Maharashtra, across Gujarat, and across Delhi region. Okay, so 3 regions comes under me, and these 3 regions I have 7 plants or 8 plants. Okay, so when I start procuring the things from the vendor, I will not give the individual requirement of one plant. I will consolidate the requirement of the same material from all these plants. Okay, and then I will negotiate it with the vendor that, boss, I have, instead of 100 quantities, I'm buying 22,000 quantities from you. Okay, and let me know what is your price. So there is basically also a purchasing organization that we can set at the company code level, which is dealing with the different plants. So you can see there is one purchasing organization which taking care of 3 or 4 plants under it. Okay, which is more at the company side level, and there is a purchasing organization which is basically at the individual plant level also. Okay, so it is up to the company organizational structure that how they want to set the purchasing organization. They want a very high level purchasing organization, or they want the purchasing organization at the individual level also. Okay, so that is individual plant level also. So this is basically the organization structure that we have. Okay, in SAP material management, you can say module. Okay, so it is easy. If you can see, I have basically the documents also. It is basically purely step-by-step configuration document, how to create a company code and all those things that I can share, okay, with you all just for your reference, and you will get it over the Google also. Okay, there is nothing that I've added much in this, only the detailed screenshots with each and every information that is has. Okay, what is this T code and all those things, I'll come to that for the people who are very new to SAP and have not seen SAP. Okay, but that kind of documents you will get, okay, very detailed, how you are basically creating the company code in the, let me, if I zoom it a bit again, I'll just give 2 or 3 minutes to this document, and then I'll come to the last slide of today's topic. Okay, so you can see that this is basically the background of SAP. I'll come to this, okay, the background and the foreground, but you can see that how you can create a company code in the system. Okay, and how you can assign the company code to the plant, how you can give the name and the geographical information of the company, in which currency they are dealing with. There could be a case that one company of the Tata Motor is in London, so you will not basically buy and purchase in euros, sorry, in Indian rupees. You will buy and purchase in euros. So that kind of information is available in this, that the city is Pune, the currency is INR, this is one company code. Then detailed information, geographical information of the company code, everything you will give over here. Then you will create a plant. Okay, and then the assignment of the plant with the company code, that which plant comes under which company code. Then you will create the story location also, that which story location comes under which plant, that comes under which company code. So that kind of information. And you can also give, you will also give the purchasing organization, that create purchasing organization. We want to assign the purchasing organization at somewhere at the company code level. You can see assign the purchasing organization somewhere. There are the settings for this. Yeah, so assignment of the plant with the company code, if I zoom a little bit more, so the assignment of plant with the company code. So this is basically all configuration that a configurator or the implementation team does. Okay, they understand the requirement from the business, that what is the scope of your business, what is the organizational structure of the business, and this is the first set of configuration we do in the system. Okay, being as a consultant, if I got hired for any implementation project, that is starting from the scratch, starting from the zero, this is the first requirement I will raise to the business during my requirement gathering, that what is the organizational structure, give me that detailed. So you will discuss on those organizational structure, and then you will basically configure those. Once all the requirements of all the processes are over, then you will basically start doing this configuration in the system to do the assignment also, that which company code is assigned to which plant is assigned to how many story locations, all those things you will assign. So you can see at the company code level also you can define the purchasing organization, the information I was showing over here. Okay, this purchasing organization, it is something that you can assign it at the company code level, so that you can get a better picture. Okay, or you can do the better negotiation for the multiple plants that comes under your reason. So this is basically all the configuration documents, that step-by-step configuration that you can get also from the Google. Nothing new in this. Okay, then So this is the organizational structure, okay, and then once we understand the organizational structure, okay, then we will basically should understand that what are the different master data that we have in the material management. So I'll just cover first few master data, that is the material master and the vendor master, and give you very basic about it, not very detailed each and every field, but if it is required, definitely I can basically give you the field information also. So there are no different master data that is required in the material management or in S/4HANA sourcing and procurement module. So one is the material master. Okay, that is most important because this material master is something you will be using in your company, in your plant. Okay, from the sales perspective, also the sales team, they basically knows that Maruti Suzuki LXI is basically the material number of one car. Okay, the same number is basically used by the production team, that is Maruti Suzuki LXI version we have to create it. Okay, the same is basically used by the material is referred by the purchasing team to contact with the vendor that I need the headlight of Maruti Suzuki LXI. Okay, the same is basically referred by the other departments also. Okay, so that is basically the material master that we have, which all material we are basically using in the plant or under the scope of our business. Okay, we basically create all those material master in the SAP system. So if you can see, these material master are basically have different views. Why it has different views? So because there are no different department in my plant. Okay, so I have the department known as sales department, sales and purchasing. So they will be using this material master for their sales and purchasing or giving the offers, okay, to this particular product. We have the purchasing team also who will be purchasing the material from the vendor. Okay, we have the planning team who will be doing some kind of forecasting and some kind of seasonal forecasting and identify that how many materials we want, okay, in so and so dates on in so and so year. Okay, so the forecasting you can see. Then we have the plan of the something related to the production information also. So MRP is also somewhere it supports the production part, but this general plant data view, this is also the production. Okay, so you want to produce something, so this production team will basically refer these materials and they specifically use these two views, okay, to perform the activities. Then the accounting views, this is basically taken care by the financial guys. Okay, that which material, how many materials of this material number we have sold, okay, in this year or in this 6 months. Okay, all those information related to the accounting, what is the price of the material, okay, to which particular general account it is attached, valuation class it is attached. I'll come to that, okay, valuation class, but this is all related to the accounting views, okay, which is taken care by the sales team. Okay, this is WM execution and WM packaging. This is basically taken care by the warehouse team. If you can see, there are no two difference between the views. Okay, so this is basically the old ERP views that we have. Okay, old ERP or the classical ERP material management views that we have. And you can see, if you talked about the S/4HANA 2022 version, so you can see the material master view is now extended with additional views, that is advanced planning, extended SSP, that is service provider, I think. Then WM execution is something that is already there since 1709 version. Okay, like since 2018 or 2017, these two views are there, because when this now extended warehouse management comes into the picture, okay, come into the scope of SAP, then we have these two views, that is. And then this is a segment valuation data. Even I'm not very sure what is this all called, but you can see there are a lot of changes that has been done from the old ERP system to the S/4HANA system, and these are the views that get added in the master data itself. It is not important, or it is not something that it is useful for the material management module. It could be used for the some other modules, like advanced planning comes under the advanced planning and optimization, that is comes under the production team. Okay, then this is basically related for the service provider, the customer services. Okay, you have purchased a refrigerator and you do not like the refrigerator, or there is some issue in the refrigerator and that refrigerator comes under the warranty, then you will basically raise a service request or the customer request. Okay, so that taking care under this customer services part also. This is comes under the warehouse management. And this is, I'm not very sure what is this all about. Okay, so you can see there is change in the views also now from the old ERP system to the new S4HANA system, and these views means a lot of new functionalities and the features that we have added in the master data. If you want to see the master data, you can see this is basically S4HANA system. I'll just show you this S4HANA system. Okay, the T codes and other things are all same. There is no change in the T code. Okay, specifically for material management. If I now coming to this, okay, I just want to give you some navigation part on this. Okay, for the people who are new. So this is basically the place where we write the T codes. Okay, the transaction code, which basically where the system basically take me up to that particular page which I want to perform. Okay, so these are the transaction code. Like to create the master data, I basically use this transaction code, that is MM01. You can give any name definition to it, that is material management 01 or any other thing, or master management 01. It is up to you. These are basically the German terminologies that were basically given by those German guys, 7 guys or 8 guys or 5 guys. Okay, so this is MM01. Press enter, and you can see this is how this material master creation screen will come up. Okay, there you can give your own number range, or you can basically generate system generated number ranges also. Like I want to give a name over here, Tata Salt. Okay. S-A-L-T, Tata Salt. So I have to give a number range for this. Okay, so that system can accept this number range. That is a alphanumeric kind of thing. Or I can ready to accept a number range that is provided by the system. Those number ranges is also given by me, because it is after all the customer who will be using this number ranges. So we will discuss with the customer that what are the number ranges you want for the material, for which set of material you want which number ranges, means the material should start with which number. Sometimes they basically start the number followed by the plant, story location and other things. So that kind of lot of logics they basically build up to identify the number ranges. Generally, when any new when any old customer, they are basically moving from ERP to S4HANA. Okay, they basically use the same old number ranges, because their number ranges are already floated to many customers with whom they have already doing the business since ages. So just for the sake of moving to the new system, they will not create a new number range, else it will basically create a lot of mess for them, for their accounting entries and other things with the banks, all those whatever the things they have spread across on those number ranges. If something is very new in the market, they are just not trying to start the business, and to start the business they basically want to start with SAP or Oracle. In those cases, they can create the number range, a fresh number range. What are the industry sectors? These are the different industries, predefined industries, that is basically provided by the SAP, that for which particular industries you are working in. Means your client is basically in the aerospace, or it is in the chemical industry. Means my current project is in the chemical industry, so I'm using this particular industry sectors. Okay, so these are the different industry sectors, and it has some programming also in the background that basically support the features related to the different sectors also. Then these are the material type. Okay, the different type of materials we are using. So consider a case of Tata Motors. They are not only using the finished material, that is car, Nexon car. In the Nexon car, they have the raw materials. They are using the raw materials, or procuring the raw materials also. They are basically using some semi-finished materials also, like kind of assemblies, okay, that they are using in the engine, and they are basically using the finished materials also. So we have the different type of materials. So which material you want to create, okay, like raw materials for which particular industry, like manufacturing industries. Okay, and then press enter. When I press enter, you can see these views will open up. So for which particular view you want to extend, so this basic view is basically all the basic information of the material which will be used by all these different departments. Like basic view means what is the name of the material. The name of material will remain the same for the sale, it will remain same for the purchasing, it will remain same for the production also, it will remain same for the financial department also. What is the unit of measure? Okay, if it is a liquid product, it will be liquid for the sales also, it will be liquid for the purchasing team also, it will be liquid for the manufacturing team also. They will not say it is kg or it is basically per piece. Okay, it is liquid in liters, and that is same, the accounting will be done based on the liter only. How many liter you have sell or purchase, we will do the accounting. So all basic information you can find under the basic details. Okay, you can see what is the base unit of measure, which material group it belongs, like it belongs to the chemical group or it basically belongs to the pump. So it is basically a family, comes under the family of pump. Okay, big pump, small pump, large pump, medium pump. So you can see the 5 type of pumps you are using. So it comes under the material group pumps kind of thing. Okay, then if you are basically using the purchasing view, means you are from the purchasing department, then you can go to the purchasing view. You see, okay, so you can basically go to the purchasing view. So here you can see the purchasing view where you will give the purchasing related informations. Okay. Okay, so you can see this is the purchasing view for which particular plant you are doing the purchasing, what is the purchasing group you have. Okay, then there are basically the GR processing times we have, material group we have. There are few information related to the purchasing where you can send the reminders also. I was talking about the reminders. Then this is a purchasing value key that we have. Okay, for the to set the tolerance that how many material we can receive. Means suppose we have given an order of 100 quantities, but vendor have given you 150 quantities. Okay, then you can set the tolerance that boss, I can only take, I've ordered, though I have ordered 100, but I can only take the tolerance of 10 plus and minus. Okay, I'll not take 150 quantities from you just as sake of that you have manufactured it for me, I'll not take it. Okay, so that kind of tolerance also we can set over here. Then these views are basically related to the planning. Okay, these are little complex views. Okay, that is taken care by the planning team to identify the seasonal plannings and other plannings. Then these are the views. You can see the forecasting also is there. Okay, based on the forecast, seasonal forecast and all of these things we can do it. Then we have the plant information. Okay, where the production team will basically use these features. ABC purchasing group, I'll just give any 0001 and then I'll go for. Okay, then this is basically the view related to the production. These are the view related to the production that is taken care by the production team. You can see the maximum shelf life expiration date and all those things. Okay, I'll come to this now, maximum shelf life expiration date. Just for the sake of time, I'm just running. Okay, with these views, I'll come to these views and show you in detail. So these views are basically taken care by the warehouse team. Okay, to manage their warehouse related information over here. Then we have similar views related to the financial and the controlling part also. Okay, so these are the views taken care by the different departments. Okay, so this entire material management has a different views taken care by the different departments. So the main department for the purchasing is basically this purchasing view and some part of the MRP views also. Okay, so this is the main view for the material management. So that is basically related to your master data. Okay, then we have the vendor master. Okay, I'll just cover till vendor master and then I'll end for today's session. So in this now, vendor master is now in S4HANA system, in the new S4HANA system, which is basically booming in the market. We call it as the business partners. So the SAP have removed all this vendor master or the customer master kind of decodes from the system, and they have keep it as business partner. Why they keep this name as business partner? Because they say that no, vendor doesn't look good or doesn't sound good. Vendor is also basically help in promoting our business. So it is more to be a business partner for us instead of just a vendor. Okay, so this is one of the code that SAP has given to basically come up with this particular name, because they are promoting, helping us to promote the business. So they are basically the partner also. Okay, like the customers we have, customer is also basically the business partner with whom we are promoting the business or doing the business. So the old vendor master is now replaced with the business partners. So this is how the business partner screen look like. Okay, where you can basically give the partner number, that is your vendor number only. Okay, you can see this is a vendor number, supplier AK01 for plant AK01. Okay, and this screen, this business partner is basically the basic information, basic screen. And on the right hand side, you can see you can basically select the number ranges, whether you want to give your own number range by giving the number as Tata 01, or you can basically use the external number range where you are giving your own number range, or the internal number range. So all these number ranges kind of concept we basically configure in the system. If I select the internal number range, then the system will basically give the number to the vendor. If I basically use the external number range, then I can give the number to the vendor like Ashok 01 or Ashok Leyland 01 kind of thing. Okay, so these are the number ranges that we have in the business part. The same transaction code, okay, the same screen will be used to create both customer as well as vendor. Initially we have a different screen for the vendor and different screen for the customer. Now it is same. Okay, you can see this is the general view of the vendor master, where we give the information related to the vendor, that is a company code, what is the name of the company, supplier name, in which country it works, and there are no other address information and the payment terms information or the transaction informations we have. Not all tabs is required to fill this, only the general information is sufficient, and sometimes the payment transaction information. Okay, then to add the information of the vendor related to the purchasing or the company code, that for which purchasing organization or for which particular plant this vendor belongs to. Sometimes what happens, no, there are the limited vendors, okay, who are dealing with specific plants. Okay, they are not working at the company code level, that you have identified one vendor and that can basically take care of all the plant across India. Okay, they do not have that kind of capacity, so they are basically only hired or selected for to fulfill the need of specific plant which is somewhere, okay, on the coastal area, okay, where your main vendors cannot reach. So what we have, just to basically update the vendor, okay, for which purchasing organization or for which all plants, or for which company code this vendor is assigned to. Okay, what we will do, we will basically change the business role. Now these things are very important when you are getting into the S/4HANA system. Okay, these are the two roles which are very important to create the vendor master, that is FLVN01. Little technical, but you have to basically understand in this way. It is FLVN01, that is for the supplier view, and this is FLVN01, that is basically one is for the supplier view and one is basically for the accounting view. Accounting view means that when we use FLVN01, it will basically assign the vendor, okay, or extend the vendor master to at the company code level, okay. And when you basically add the supplier view, that is VL0 and VLN00. Actually it is VL01N or VL00. I think that is two type of roles we have. So for this VLN00, this is a supplier view where we are extending the vendor to the purchasing level. Okay, so what I'm saying, that if I basically use this VLN01, you can see the purchasing view is activated. Initially in the previous screen, there is no such purchasing view that is activated. Okay, so if I want to extend the vendor for the purchasing views, okay, so or I want to extend this vendor to my purchasing organizations and other things, that for this particular organization which all vendors are available, okay, for this purchasing organization, so I can use this particular role, that is FLVN01, and my purchasing view will open. I can assign it to the purchasing organization. This vendor basically works in this purchasing organization. Suppose for Tata Motors there are no 20 purchasing organization, so which vendor is working for which purchasing organization, that kind of information you add in the vendor master. So when you look into the system and put my purchasing organization is A00, how many vendors are there who deals with this purchasing organization, system will give the list for those vendors. Okay, so that is basically the purchasing view. You are extending this vendor to all this purchasing organization under which this vendor will work. If you want to extend this vendor at the company code level for the accounting views, okay, then you have to use the role, or you have to extend your BP role, this role, okay, this one. If I give you this pointer, this role with another role, that is FLVN00. So with this FLVN00, you can see this company code view will open. Okay, and you can give all the information related to the reconciliation account, head office, okay, which company code, what is the customer and the supplier. Okay, I'll come to this customer and supplier. It is generally works under intercompany stock transfers and other things. Now, what is this intercompany? I'll come to that. Where you're not transferring the material from one company to another. Tata Motors asked Tata Consumer, give us the 20 kg pulses, 20 kg rice, 20 kg this and those every day, so that our worker can eat in the lunch, dinner, and the breakfast. Both are the two different companies. Okay, but you can see both comes under Tata, but two different companies, and their accounting values are also different. Okay, they are managing their accounts separately, and the Tata Motors are managing their accounts separately. There is no such kind of barter system. Give us the pulses, we will give you the car. This is not something that basically make both of them profitable. Okay, so that's why we have the intercompany stock transfer order kind of concept, where within one client, that is under the Tata, we are moving the material from one place to another, but company have to pay as per the pricing that is set by the other company for selling the things. For them, these two companies are basically the vendor and the supplier. Sorry, vendor and the customer. Okay, there is no such kind of things that we are basically belongs to the same sister companies and other things, so give us for free. Nothing like this. There could be some discount, but this is how the things basically goes. So in this vendor master, we have to basically use these two important roles, okay, to extend the vendor, so that we can basically add all the accounting related entries with the vendor, and also the purchasing related entries with the vendor. Okay, and these are basically the views that we basically work in the vendor master. High level, I'm not going into the details, I'm not taking you into the each and every detail, because this is just a fundamental. You should know that what is basically running now. Instead of vendor master, we are going with the business partner. In the business partner, there are two major important roles that we have to select. One is FLVN 00 to extend the vendor with the purchasing view, and another is FLVN 01 to extend the vendor with the accounting views, a reconciliation account and all those things, and also assign account. Okay, so at this slide, at this particular point, I'll stop my session. Okay, in case you have any questions, queries, anything, you can let me know.